Okay, hello. How is everybody today? Good? Okay, well, I'm pretty energized because I just got back from vacation yesterday. But that wore off by about 9 o'clock in the morning. Can't resist saying that, but you know how it is, right, when you're going on vacation. I want to really thank you for being here today. I know you're busy, you've got lots of priorities that you juggle all day long, but these meetings are really important, and it's a few times a year when we get this unique opportunity to get together as one team to talk about what's going on in the community, to talk about our successes, the progress that we're making, our strategic goals, and also to share the challenges. So I'm really glad that you could be here today. I know David, Chris, Bryn, and myself who are presenting today are happy that you made the time to come. And the first thing that we're going to do in our program today for the Team Town Hall meeting is give you a financial update of how we ended the year in 2025. And it's really important that you do understand the financials of our business model. So we want to be openly communicating as often as possible and as transparently as possible because you're a part of and key to this organization's success. So it's important for you to understand how the finances work. It's important for you to know when we're having a good year, when we're having some struggles, because oftentimes we have priorities that we're working on, campus improvements that get put on hold or things that we're moving forward with, and it's all tied to the financials. So I'm going to take this opportunity to turn things over to Chris Hunt. Now, I do want to warn you that he really wanted to share his 25-page financial report with you that goes through all of our actuary studies, but we had to hold him back, you know, because he gets excited about those things. So he's going to give you a high-level status of how we finished 2025.
Thank you, Sue. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I mentioned in the first session that, you know, if anybody's interested, we could do a book club reading of the disclosure statement later in the year. If we're interested, we can go through line by line and talk about revenue recognition and stuff that no one cares about but me. Anyway, so thank you for your time. I'm just going to take a few minutes and do a financial update. I have sort of a skinny down P&L just to give you a sense for how we ended the year. But the first thing I just want to talk about was census. So probably the most important thing for anyone to know when it comes to finances is what our occupancy is. So that drives the whole thing, right? If your occupancy drops, you stop, the amount of cash flows you have coming in terms of monthly fees, entrance fees, all of that kind of stuff takes a nosedive. And that's where communities get into problems when their census starts to drop. So I think what you should know is that we have a strong census here. So residential living, we averaged, now this is average for the year, so we averaged 88%. That's a little bit below our norm. We're usually 90 and above. However, that's reflective of 29 turnovers in independent living. So what happens is, right, when people can't stay in their apartments anymore, they turn over. And, when you work in the care areas or in the dining area or whatever, you see those residents moving. Well, once they're out of the apartment, we have to resell it, we have to remodel it. So it does take a little bit of time to get the new apartment ready, right? Because if you were paying, $200,000 or $300,000 a move in, you'd want your apartment look brand spanking new, not like somebody just moved out of it. So that takes a little bit of time. So when you get, a lot of turnovers, which happens, it takes time to renovate apartments and get people moved back in. So you get a little drop there in census. But again, a solid census on this campus. So 88% of our 130 units on this campus were occupied for the year. In personal care, all three levels, 92%, and nursing care, 94%. So as long as we're solid in those areas, and we can keep our expenses under control, we'll continue to be a solid organization. So if you take nothing else away from my presentation, know that the more people in beds, the more people in apartments, the better for us fiscally and operationally. At Heritage Village, happy to say that phase 6 is done and 100% occupied. So with the exception of I think $500,000 worth of site work that has to be done in the spring, Heritage Village is at stabilized occupancy. So we've talked about this in other sessions, but with Heritage Village, we essentially doubled the size of our independent living. We had 130 units roughly on this campus, and that's 126. And most of those are couples, so the resident population, the number of people went way up, more so than the number of units, but we essentially doubled the size. Why do we do that? Again, we've talked about that before, is because we want to serve as many of our own residents as we can in personal care and nursing care. That's why they're buying in, that's why they're here. So we have way more, Sue will talk about it later, but we have way more nursing and PC beds than we need, and we just want to continue to grow independent living. So those first 6 phases were basically at 95, 96% occupancy in the first 3, and 100% with essentially phase 6 wrapping up at the end of the year. So we're done there. So what did all the numbers look like for those of you who like numbers? What I've got here is just a skinny down version of our P&L to show you, in my mind, there's a lot of numbers in there, but what numbers drive the whole thing. So what you see behind you doesn't include things like what we earned on our investments or gains and losses on investments we've sold, entrance fees that we receive and we recognize as revenue over the life of the resident. That's not in these numbers as well. Depreciation's not in there. So the way to think about this is all the cash coming in, excluding entrance fees, and that's all the cash going out. So that's kind of like our net coming in, if you want to think about it that way. So we had about $30.7 million of total resident revenue compared to a budget of $31.5. So we were a little bit short of our budget for 2 reasons. One, that sort of lower side occupancy in the Moravian Hall Square campus at 88%. However, with all those turnovers, we got $4.6 million in entrance fees. So that's a lot of money to make the engine go, and I'll explain to you where all that goes. And then we actually, with all those transitions, we had a lot of life care people that moved into both personal care and nursing care. So for those of you who don't know, the way that life care contract works is when somebody's in their apartment, they're paying X. Let's just say it's $5,000 a month. When they move to nursing care or PC, they continue to pay $5,000 a month, even though the charge might be $8,000 a month or $9,000 a month in PC and $15,000 or $16,000 a month in nursing. So that difference we write off, but those residents have paid for that in their monthly fee and entrance fee. But what happens is revenue looks less favorable, but we know that, and it's just a matter of time. So that's not anything we're that worried about. But anyway, those 2 things will cause our revenue to be short of budget. Our expenses, however, came under budget. You see $28.7 million compared to budget of $30.2. So we've done a good job managing our expenses. We're still challenged with the amount of agency that we use, as are most providers. So we continue to want to zero in on that, and you've heard us talk about that before. So all of that gives us a net resident revenue gain of about $2 million. So we were about $800,000 better than budget. And this net operating margin is what NOM stands for. For those of you who like the math, that's simply our return on revenue. That's our $2 million divided by our $30 million is about 7%. For us to stay healthy, we want that above 5. Because essentially the way we work is think of that number plus our entrance fees has to pay for, beyond all the wages and salaries and benefits, that $2 million plus our entrance fees has to pay for capital improvements, debt service, and give us some money in the end to reinvest in other things, like the Bethany House project or future projects that could continue to build independent living. So that's kind of where all that goes. Keys to financial success, I just threw this in here. So, what are the keys to making sure that we're financially stable going forward, well, they're really the same keys to make sure we're operationally stable going forward. And in my mind, if you don't have one, you can't get the other two. So these three things kind of work in hand. First is reputation. So people want to move in here because of our reputation for service, our reputation for care, our reputation for what the place looks like. And that is really the sum total of what everybody in this room does. Every time you have an interaction with a resident, every time you provide a service, every time you serve a good meal, every time a family's super satisfied with the care, that builds our reputation. People want to move into a place that has a good reputation, that their loved ones are going to feel safe, that they're getting good care, we're taking care of all of their needs holistically, and that gives us a good reputation. Second is continuous capital investment. So we spend a lot of money on buildings. We spend a lot of money on equipment. Why? Because we need to continue to do that. As I said earlier, just simply, we'll spend $1 million a year just in renovating apartments, right? Because if you're moving in, like I said before, and you're paying $200,000 or $300,000, right? You want it to look new, not used, right? You want that apartment to look new. You want it to feel good. You want it to feel like it's yours. So we spend a lot of money, keeping up with the plant, doing renovations in Bethany House, expanding our independent living offerings. Communities that don't do that will die because eventually all that maintenance will catch up to them and they won't have the money to do it. So you do that maintenance year in and year out. You're not refurbishing the nursing home or Bethany House every year, but maybe every 10 years you are, or maybe every 8 years you are. So you have to have money for continuous capital improvement. The other thing is you need to provide, again, my words, superior service at reasonable costs. There's a lot of things we can do, right? Residents tell us every day at resident town halls all the new stuff that they would like us to do, but they don't want it in their rates, right? Well, the only way for us to do that is to be able to provide all the services we can at a reasonable cost, right? Again, we can provide all the services, but if to provide them, it causes the entrance fee and a monthly fee to be at a price point that they can't afford, we won't have people move in, right? So all these things work in tandem. If your plant doesn't look good, people don't move in. If you don't have a good reputation, you don't get these two things. You can have these two things, but if it costs too much, people don't move in. So the balance, in my mind, of those three things is what we continue to drive for to make us operationally and financially successful going forward. And I think as you listen to our presentations and future presentations, these are the kind of things we continue to talk about. So hopefully that sort of connects all the dots and gives you something to think about from a financial perspective other than just numbers. So anyway, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. I'll turn it over to Bryn.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for coming. So I'm here to share another important data point that we look at very regularly, and that's our turnover. And our turnover, I'm so proud and grateful to all of you. Our turnover numbers are truly astounding. You can see that we've improved by almost 50%. We were at 40% last year, which is aligned with the industry average, and last year we ended with 21%. That means 21% of our population of team members separated employment for various reasons. Some of them could be, good turnover. We know a lot of people who have retired, but again, 21% is truly amazing. And also our 90-day turnover, which is another important metric that we look at because that drives the majority of our turnover. Those new hires that have been here less than 90 days, they're not totally connected yet to the mission, to the teams, right? So they're the ones that if we don't ensure that their training is great and that they're connected to the team and they feel comfortable and welcomed, they're the group that's going to leave. And you can see that improvement has been made from 23 to 25. And last year we finished at 14%, which is again, really, really excellent. So I think that you all know we do these surveys to see how our team members are feeling in their first 90 days. And the results are here. This doesn't give you a data point as far as the satisfaction level, but I could tell you we are far beyond the benchmark, because we enlist a company called We Care Connect. They just recently changed to Activated Insights, but they serve our industry. So we are part of a bigger data pool of senior living organizations like ours, and we really do a really excellent job making sure that our team members are well trained, and then of course all of you make them feel very comfortable here. So this is when they were asked, you know, tell us what you love about Morningstar Living. They say, you know, the teamwork, the residents, the culture, the people, the positive family-like environment, the ability to learn and grow, and a job that feels rewarding and meaningful. And we also added a custom question. This was a little while ago, and so you might have been recognized already by a Shining Moment card, which is you personally have been mentioned in their new hire experience. So Olivia and Charles and Christina, and these are just a few. All those little things you do to make a team member feel welcome really goes a long way. So we're very grateful to all of you for making those turnover numbers what they are. Because at the end of the day, that ensures that we've got, you know, good staffing levels. That makes all of our jobs a lot easier when we're well staffed. And of course, it provides better care for our residents when they've got team members that they know and they trust. So we're also in our year of review, just remembering the people we honored last year at our May awards ceremony. We're so proud of these team members. They're ready to now pass that torch on to our 2026 award recipients. So again, we're here to recognize today and honor all of you who have been honored for one of these awards, whether it was customer service or embracing change or a Power of Community award or a nursing award. And then also our milestone recipients. We honor them separately from our awards day in May. We have 2 milestone luncheons per year. The first half of the year is recognized at some point in the first quarter, and then the second half, and our milestones represent 5, 10, 15, all the way up to 35 years of service. And we also launched Shining Moments. If you remember, we used to use those extra mile wood tokens, and we switched over in September to a Shining Moment award. We're leveraging our technology. We just love My Insight. It's such a great way to communicate with all of you, and now we've enhanced that by using it for recognition. So, you know, we give out these cards, our supervisors and leaders issue these cards when they see an act of excellent service, watching someone go above and beyond when you're recognized in the surveys. So we've issued 202 of these awards so far, which is incredible, since September. And they've been redeeming them. So we've had 29 team members redeem them for a myriad of gift cards. You can get anything. And that's actually what we'll be raffling off today at the end of this presentation. So what's ahead for you? We're just gonna make sure you're aware of what's happening. We put out those flyers and we put them in the Cruise News and we post them on My Insight, but we wanna make sure that you know what's happening. We like to add some fun to our day. So on St. Patrick's Day, we'll wear our best green outfits and we'll have a scavenger hunt around the community. We'll be in search for some green coins. Actually gold coins, right? Not green. We've got our milestone luncheon for our anniversaries, our milestone anniversaries, so that'll be happening on March 18th in the Rose Inn restaurant. We've got the first day of spring. It already feels like it today and yesterday, but that'll be happening on March 20th, where, if you remember, we have the tree now in the staff lounge with the leaves. That'll be coming back out, and we'll be putting some cherry blossoms out there, and hope that you'll share some words of gratitude, just to continue to share that positivity. And then we're going to kick off baseball season with ice cream sundaes on March 25th. So a lot to look forward to in March. April, my favorite day of the year, is Take Your Child to Work Day. So if you have children or grandchildren between the ages of 8 and 18, we'd love to have them come here on site for the day. It's a really full day of activities. Don't think, oh, I'm in a position that I can't have my daughter or son or whomever shadow me. That's quite all right. We keep them fully entertained for the day. They'll have opportunity to have lunch with you and shadow you for a small window of time. And that registration is opening this week, so keep an eye out for that. And we do hold a resident memorial service for those we have lost in the last 6 months. So we encourage all of you, if you've had a resident that you're close to pass in these last 6 months, we encourage you to attend. It's really a great support to your fellow team members and, of course, the residents' family members. It's really nice for them to see you there. So that'll be happening on Sunday, April 26th. And then Awards Day, our big special day for on May 20th, that'll be in the Rosen restaurant. You know, we give away T-shirts and we honor another group of team members. Those nominations are out now. So if you haven't seen that announcement, we encourage you to get on My Insight. There should be flyers around campus as well. You could scan a QR code or you could just download a form and nominate your coworkers who you feel are deserving of one of the awards. And we hope that you'll attend. It's a wonderful day of having a meal together and honoring the team members who have been recognized. And we're looking forward to a facelift in the staff lounge, the Getaway Cafe. So there's been a small team working on just the cosmetics and the layout of that area. So we will be hoping to get this done by the summer. There's going to be some flooring, some cabinetry. We're adding some private workstations. This isn't exactly what it's going to look like, but it gives you a little bit of an idea. The workstations aren't going to be along that wall, though. They'll be on this left wall. And they're not actually workstations, just a privacy station for you if you're on your break and you just want to, you could either do something personal on the computer. You could do your Relias there if you wanted to. You could use the phone or anything you want to do. Just have your own downtime. There'll be a partition so you have a little privacy. And that's it for me. Now I'd like to turn things over to David to talk about our Unitas communities.
Thank you. Thanks, Bryn. Thank you all for being here. I'm always amused at Bryn's level of excitement over the grandparent day. I'm kind of grateful my grandchildren are over an hour and a half away. My daughter and 3 grandkids, grandsons aged 9, 7, and 4 are living with us right now. And I was working on my taxes last week and I hear this scream of pain coming from the other room, and they thought it was a good idea. They had the 4-year-old on the floor with all the love seat and couch pillows on top of them, and they were doing pile drivers off of the couch on top of him, and his screams of pain did not slow them down one bit. I just have visions of them coming in, jumping from a med cart to a Hoyer lift or something. So some Unitas Communities update. As you know, we have the affiliation and a lot of fun things have happened over the last couple of years. And we have a governing board at the Unitas level made up of 13 board of directors. And we've tried to keep 5 of the directors specifically from the Lehigh Valley area and 5 from the Lancaster County area. We had one of our trustees from Lehigh Valley, Edna Rocky, who's a president at one of the St. Luke's hospitals. His term expired, and we had to recruit another board member. And pleased to say, Darrell Crook. Darrell he's been a long time Moravian, involved with Morningstar for many years. Great guy, retired educator. He just finished his term as the chair of the foundation here at Morningstar, and was just thrilled to be asked. And this is the kind of involvement and people that, the hearts that are kind of behind the scenes that make us tick. And these are all volunteers. They don't get paid for their time, but we have a skills matrix, and we try to fill in, where we need a skill set within our board. And so we're pleased to welcome Darrell. Another exciting move that I can't say a name yet, but we did change the Unitas bylaws to enable us to have a resident as part of the board. resident voting board member, and that person is in progress right now, going through the process, and that will be a resident from Morningstar Living. And that's, again, kind of groundbreaking territory as first time we've done that. I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about our 5 strategic pillars. This is part of our strategic plan. We'll go through them with numbers, number 1, number 2. That is not in order of priority. They're all of equal importance, just that you have to start with one and end with one. I'm going to talk a little bit about the first 3, and then Sue Kapp will talk about the last 2. And again, I don't like the way I'm wording that. You'd probably have a better way of wording that because you're a marketing professional. They're all equal. So the first one, creating scalable infrastructure. There's been a lot of work on this, and both facilities have experienced a lot of change over the last couple of years. Hopefully we can that'll be tamped down a little bit. I mean, we have a new HR management system, new timekeeper system here. We've installed that at both facilities, UKG. We have Sage, new accounting package. Again, for some of you, it doesn't affect you. For others of you, it affects you a lot. We have compliance, standardizing that across both facilities. Last year, I think it was last January, we switched to the PTO system here. Is that right? Again, trying to get our systems on a similar type of basis, and that enables us in the future, if we find an attractive partner to bring into Unitas, we have our system standardized and ready to go. And we're not done with that yet, but we've made some really wonderful progress. The last one on the list, information technology, we did hire a consulting firm to provide chief information officer services. So that person works a lot with Monica here and Jared in Lidditz. And again, trying to standardize and make our systems similar as the best of our ability. I shared earlier today that one of the areas that I'm increasingly concerned about, and when it comes to IT, is cybersecurity. Cybersecurity and e-crime is just on a rapid rise. I mean, I hear a story, particularly seniors are targets, also senior living facilities are targets. And I hear stories literally every week about a facility being compromised and or residents, more residents than facilities. But those of you who have a user log on at Morningstar, please be aware, we have a know before training. Pay attention to that stuff. How they get into your system is they send you something, it looks totally legitimate, they'll spoof letterheads or whatever, and they'll create a sense of urgency, and you click on a link. We've all done it. And if you click on that link, it can embed tracking software into your computer system, into our network, and it's not good. Recently, a friend of mine from another facility found out that his account had been hacked. They were in there for several months, and it almost led to a major loss for the facility. They just caught it in time. But we were talking 7 figures, actually. It was a big deal. So again, some of the things that we've done over the last year or so, a lot of change. And of course, we have this AI up there in the front left corner, which is getting more and more traction. And we're trying to, with any new technology, trying to figure out how it best works, how it supplements our work instead of detracts from it. And there are more to follow there. But DocTrack, UKG, MyInsight, Microsoft 365, KnowBe4s, that computer training, security training for those of you who have log-ons. The second pillar that we'll discuss today is talking about solving the staffing crisis. A lot of what Bryn talked about is in regard to that. Congratulations to all of you, because no matter what administration does policy-wise, pay-wise, or any of that stuff, what really matters is how you all treat new workers. How do we welcome them? How do they feel when they come here? Do they feel at home? And also how you talk about our place of employment. You know, what do we, you know, your friends aren't going to want to work here if all they hear is negative. And if you hear positive, which has to be happening if you look at our turnover numbers, that's very attractive. So that's part of it. Communication, that's why we're here today. We want to give the opportunity for our team members to know what's going on at our facility and ask questions and be informed. We have the newsletter that goes out regularly, and there's a lot of information in there. And I can tell you, most facilities do not do that. It takes time, it takes resources to do that. Please take the time to read it because there's a lot of information in there. I tend to get a little bit worked up, for lack of a better word, when I hear, oh, I didn't know about that. Well, you know, some of us, we have to own that as well because the information's there. We're trying to make it available and try to use as much of that as you can because there's this great communication that does go on. Appreciation and recognition, again, I would say Morningstar is second to none in that department. We have stuff going on every month, and it's pretty cool, and it's fun. I think since the pandemic, we do have to work a little harder, everybody, at having fun together because we tend to, there was a sense of isolation that happened during that period of time that was not healthy. And then coaching, again, we have a great assessment process here. It becomes more conversational than punitive. And you know I just had my assessment done by the executive committee of our board. And there were some things they pointed out for me to work on. You know, none of us are strong in everything. And so how do we unleash our powers? How do we maximize the gifts that God has given us? And that's really the goal here. And I do like our system a lot that we have implemented at both facilities now as well. I interject with a bad dad joke. This is an employee joke. A boss asks a long-term employee, "Do you believe in life after death?" The employee says, "Yes, sir, I do." And the boss replies, "Well, that's really good because you left early yesterday for your grandmother's funeral and she stopped by the office to see you." Serving the middle market, this is the third bullet point, and this has to do with, you know, again, I tend to be a data geek. Our life plan communities, Moravian Manor communities, Morningstar Living, we serve about 3.5% of the age-eligible population. We have an aging tsunami, which you've all heard about coming along, and a lot of those aging Americans are in the middle market. In other words, they may not be able to afford our services here. So what kind of services can be provided for those folks? And this is one of our strategic plan pillars to try to figure this out. And again, I'll read some data to you, which actually surprised me. This is from the U.S. Census Bureau. In the category of our population in the 18 to 24 years of age, that population peaked last year and goes down every year up to 2,100, okay? If you look at the next age category, those individuals in our country who are aged 25 to 44, that peaks in year 2040, okay? Then it starts to go down. Our age 65 plus, does anyone want to guess what year our age 65 plus peaks? Wild guess, anybody? No? Okay. I don't know. This projection goes out to 2,100, and the age 65 plus population continues to increase each year up through 2,100. That actually surprised me. I thought it would start to tail off, and I'm sure the level of increase starts to tail off, so I'm sure shortly after that it might decrease. But that tells us that we have millions and millions more seniors to serve in the coming years, and we're trying to position ourselves to be part of that. And we know that the life plan community model will not work for many of those seniors, and so that's We're going to have we have a board meeting in May, and that's going to be an active part of that discussion. So again, thank you for your participation. Thanks for coming here, because if you're sitting here, you're probably not one of the ones that says, "Oh, I never heard about that." So thanks for being here. Sue? Get my treasures out.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, and I'm going to talk about the fourth pillar in our strategic plan for Unitas Communities, and you've heard a lot about it, hopefully. Hopefully you've read some of the articles in the Cruise News. We try to communicate as often as we can about these strategic priorities because you're a part of the success of this organization in making these things happen. So the goal with the fourth pillar, it was originally called Harmonizing the Relationship Between Nursing Care and Residential Living. And it really spoke to not reducing the number of accommodations we have in healthcare, but really realigning the healthcare accommodations to support the residents that we serve on a long-term basis. In other words, those who come to us for permanent residency, and also being prepared or preparing ourselves for the future trends that are occurring in the industry. So the goal is to align our healthcare accommodations with the population we're committed to serving on a long-term basis. Hopefully many of you know that for the last decades in our nursing home, a larger percentage of the people we serve are non-residents. They are discharged patients from the hospitals that come here for short-term rehab because we need to keep the beds in our nursing home filled for census reasons that Chris talked about. And so obviously what we want to do is plan for and be prepared for taking care of more and more of our own residents, because when we take discharged patients from the hospital, we provide them with the best care possible. We all know that, with therapy services, with nursing services, with culinary services, etc. But quite frankly, we don't know the resident, we don't know the resident family members well, because they haven't lived here permanently with those like the residential living residents or the personal care residents or the memory care residents who move in for long-term residency with us. So the goal is really to realign our healthcare accommodations within the continuum of care and adjust our residential living population. So there's a couple trends that we have to keep in the back of our mind while we do this. The first of which is what David was speaking to about the growing number of seniors. And obviously, even though, as he said, we actually can take care of and accommodate seniors, about less than 4% who can actually afford to live in a life plan community like ours. There are millions and millions of seniors coming through the continuum of care, coming into the population, a 56% increase by the year 2035. That is astronomical. Secondly, the boomer population that we're serving now, they are in their 70s and 80s, and they are now in their high need years where they're starting to need the services that we provide in the healthcare continuum. In fact, in this past year, we had a number of Heritage Village residents who transitioned from the Heritage Village campus to Moravian Hall Square in personal care, memory care, and nursing care. And so, of course, that's what they're invested in, and we want to be prepared to serve them. And then, of course, the dementia prevalence. Once individuals turn 80 years old, there is about a 50% chance that they will develop dementia. So what that tells us is we really need to be rethinking some of the numbers that we have associated with our healthcare continuum. We have 147 total healthcare accommodations, and as Chris pointed out, we have about 250 residential living residences between those that are here in the apartments at Moravian Hall Square and the accommodations over at the Heritage Village campus. If we truly wanted to serve our own population of residents in residential living, we would need 525 residences in independent living. So obviously, we have to do a number of things. We want to create private nursing care accommodations. We know that's really important for the residents that we serve. Having that privacy is respectful and dignity, etc. We also have to provide more dementia care accommodations just because of the trends that I just mentioned. And then we have to continue to increase our residential living residences. So the first thing that we're working right now on the development of an expansion for Galilee House. We won't physically be expanding the walls, but we'll be repurposing the spaces within Galilee House. We're going to be redoing the dining operation, culinary services, which has been really outdated for over a decade there in Galilee House, not able to provide the culinary programming that we'd like to provide there. So we'll be redoing that. That will be one of the major features. And where I have the asterisk, you can see that we'll be adding 4 additional accommodations there. Now, you may be thinking, well, wow, 4 more accommodations, how is that going to help all of this population that we're going to need to serve that has dementia? But quite frankly, we're looking at other personal care accommodations that we have in Morningstar Hall and in Bethany House to be thinking about repurposing them for dementia care under personal care licensure and even under skilled licensure for dementia care. So there's a lot of work that we have to do on this pillar in the strategic plan, but there's also a lot of moving pieces. And the other moving piece is the expansion of residential living. I'm really happy to report, hopefully you read about in the Cruise News, that we acquired an additional piece of property across the street from phase 1 of our Heritage Village campus. It's only a 6-acre site. We're only going to put 5 accommodations there, but it's the start of moving forward with the additional residential living that we need to provide, because it's really tough to do it on this campus. We're pretty landlocked here. So we have to keep looking for opportunities like this. And we closed on this property in late January. We're still going through the final process of approvals to get our permits and approvals, but we've already sold 4 of the 5 accommodations that we have planned for this site. So this is, a good piece of this whole right-sizing the healthcare continuum. And then the 5th pillar of the strategic plan is really about branding. And I don't think I have to tell you the powerful impact that branding is as an asset to an organization. It really defines who an organization is, what an organization values, how they distinguish themselves from the competition, and really what matters most to the organization. So we spent a lot of time in 2025 designing the branding for Unitas Communities through a number of these things, putting together a branding plan, launching a website. We actually even modified the website this year again. We created brochures, letterhead, business cards, marketing plans, and we also submitted a proposal to present the unique affiliation that we created between Moravian Manor Communities and Morningstar Living at the upcoming Leading Age Conference that's going to take place in May this year. And our proposal was accepted, approved, and we're really excited about presenting at it. We also submitted a proposal for the National Conference of Leading Age, which is going to occur in October in Philadelphia, but we haven't yet heard whether or not, I don't think they've made the selections yet for who is presenting there, but we're really hoping that we get to present there as well. And my final comment is this. I was thinking about the watchword for 2026, and the word forward came to my mind for this reason. I was really concerned when Victoria started reporting. Victoria is our infection prevention control person. And she started limiting us all over the community, preventing us from getting our own coffee, remember? And, Kelly Wilson and I are getting all these residents knocking at our doors saying, what's going on? Why are we restricted? Why are we not holding programs or whatever? And of course, we're grateful to have Victoria. She's been superb and on keeping us on top of things with infection. But it started to make me think that we were going backwards, quite frankly, remembering the days of COVID, the pandemic, and it started to feel like, oh no, not this again. And then what occurred to me is everything that we did through COVID. It really transformed us as an organization. It really forced us to think creatively, innovatively, to make progress in ways that other communities couldn't, and many failed. And so it occurred to me that really the word forward is about never stop moving forward. Look what we did through the COVID-19 pandemic. And we need to keep moving forward because it's more than just a direction. It's about progress, continuing to make progress, continuing to innovate, and continuing to build long-term value for the residents that we serve today and the residents that we want to be here to serve for the decades to come. So on the count of 3, I'm going to ask all of you to get behind this word forward and in unison yell as loud as you can the word forward. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Forward. Thank you. You inspire me. I'm turning things over to Bryn, who will handle the raffle.
All right, thank you, Sue. All right, for such a great turnout, we'll do, you say 4, 5. Oh, Jen says 5. Let's do it. All right, our first.
I'm feeling generous.
So this is for a $25 gift card through My Insight, so you'll get that email if you're the lucky winner.
So we have Margot Ireland from PC Culinary.
All right.
I always say your name so terribly. I'm so sorry. Dalinara. I say it so. You say it so pretty, and I say it so terrible. Heather. I also can't say your last name.
Million Riley.
I don't think it's. I think it's just McMillan.
No I. Million.
How do you say it? Oh, I am right. Okay. 27. Abby and Whistle. I saw you. That was 4. One more.
Okay.
Thank you. And Roe Surfoss.
All right.
So you'll all get an email through My Insight when the $25 has been added, or 25 points has been added for you.
All right, well, we appreciate you coming. Thank you so much. Have a rest of your day, a beautiful sunny day.